I just made a comment to somebody before that I feel like the teacher of the last period of the day. Okay, so I know that all of us in this room, we wear many hats. It's going to be a little hard for me to be bending like this, so let me just see if I can adjust it. Thank you. Okay, so everyone in this room wears many hats. I mean, sheitlach, or here, but hats is the expression. I also wear many hats, and one of the hats that I wear, that I'm very, very excited to wear, and maybe that's because it's fairly new, is my bubby hat. And I'm not a competitive person. I don't want the Bubby of the Year award, but I do want to be a good bubby. So when I saw that Menachem Foundation is offering babysitting at the Kinnis, I figured, great, maybe I should bring one of my Einaklach. So I went home, and I figured I'm going to pack. And I packed the formula and a rattle. At this point, I only had one grandson in Crown Heights, so I figured it's not competition who I'm going to invite. Pampers, change of clothes, a bottle, and then I remember that I think he's already that age that he eats. So I got him some cereal, crackers, a bib, a spoon, and I figured for when maybe he needs to be entertained, I brought him a book. That was my initial thought. And then when I thought about it, I realized I did my time. And maybe I just wanted to come by myself. But my bag was packed, and I said to myself, hey, you know, I'm talking to teachers, to Mechaneches. After that introduction, I have to be careful that we use the right term. I guess my other hat that I wear, my reading glasses at times. Oh. Okay, now I know this is on COL, so they all see me rummaging for my reading glasses. I hope it's not my kids, because they are going to be mortified. Anybody have reading glasses? No, I know they're in here. Okay. If not, I will manage without them. Oh, thank you. Those are yours. No, they're hers, but okay. At least I woke everybody up, which was my intention. And, you know, it got me thinking that when I packed the bag thinking I was going to bring one of my grandkids, I actually put items in the bag. I put tangible items, as you all saw, but I realized that there were things that went into the bag that are not seen. And that would be like my thoughts, my machshava, and I think more importantly, maybe my love, my care, my attention, my sensitivity, and perhaps maybe just anticipating the need of this grandkid that I didn't bring. I think as teachers, as Mechaneches, we all agree that we are always packing our bags for our lessons, for our students. Anybody want to yell out some of the things we pack in those bags? Okay. That's it? Okay, very good. So we pack prizes, we pack incentives, we pack supplies, manipulatives, maybe if you have smart boards, your USB with your files, maybe some videos that you want to show in class, your worksheets, really anything that can cater to the needs of your students. And of course, those are the tangible things we put in our bags. But there's plenty of, and I already heard some of the answers before, some of the intangibles. Our machshava. We think about our students. We think about each one of them. We think about, or we should be thinking about each one of them. We think about the lessons that we're giving over. And of course, we also put in our heart, our care, our concern, our sensitivity, etc. Now, in order for us Mechaneches to fill the bags, we actually need a pantry. We need a source where all that material is going to come from. Lo and behold, although I'm a bubby house, every one of those things came from my house. I did not have to run to Kingston to buy it. I have formula and baby food and diaper size 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not that I have grandkids in each size, but it might be my husband's obsession. Baby wipes, etc. So we agree that we cannot fill a bag if we don't have a pantry, if we don't have some place where we can get those supplies. And I think that as Mechaneches, it's very important to realize that we also need a pantry where we can get our sources, our materials, in order to fill our bags. And I think we can all agree that the fuller our bags are, the more supplies, the tangible ones and the intangibles, the machshava, the lave, the attention, the care, the more supply and resources that we have, we are then able to better satiate and feed our students. To stock a pantry, we have the local grocery store, we have chain stores, we have Google Express. By a raise of hands, how many of us are? Okay, good. We have Amazon, right? So the same thing, to stock our teacher pantry, we need to read, we need to learn. There's educational articles, books, we can listen to podcasts and webinars, and we can even come to conventions. Some things that we do to stock our bag cost us money. Some do not cost us money, but they all cost us time. And it's important for us as Mechaneches to realize how crucial it is to constantly fill our bags. No deposit, no return. You don't put money into the bank, you can't take money out of the bank. So I want to thank Menachem Foundation for investing the time and effort, flooding our inbox, and truly encouraging us. They invited and encouraged us to come to this kinnis, where we had the opportunity to fill our bags. We were able to learn new teaching techniques. Perhaps in your workshop, they taught you how to deal with shy or anxious students, how to manage a difficult conversation with a parent, etc. There's always something new to learn. We always want to try to reach one more student, and we always just want to improve, at least in one area, our teaching methods. So I think what we have to realize is we can never stop shopping. I feel so good to say that. We can never stop shopping. Now I wish my husband was listening on COL. And filling our bags if we want to be effective and successful Mechaneches. So a big shout out and a kol hakavod to all of you who came to the kinnis. By being here, it's obvious that you share the same belief and you take your chinuch responsibilities seriously. Recently, I received an email when I became principal of Beis Rivka Elementary last year, at the end of last year. So one of the things I did was I Googled, new principles, new ideas for new principles, anything that was just going to help me, even though I was a principal in the online school, but I wasn't a principal in a brick and mortar school, and I figured there's, it's different techniques. I got to read up on it. So any free link that I was able to access, I made sure to put my email address, not my school email address, my private email address. And recently, into my inbox, an email came, and it said as follows. This is an email that they sent to principals. It says, education is a career pathway that can be so emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically exhausting, So it has been incredible to see how more schools are focusing on supporting teachers to take care of themselves so they can excel at what they're doing. So again, I think all of us have to express a hakaras hatov to Menachem Foundation and the sponsors who enabled us to come and recharge. Another benefit of gathering is just being in the same room with so many people who have also committed themselves to chinuch. It sort of like gives you a unspoken support in your personal decision just by being in each other's company. Many, many summers ago, I took a week-long course in Torah Masorah. One was on teaching Chumash, one was on teaching Navi, and one was social. And Rabbi Klein, Rabbi Shmuel Yaakov Klein, he used to be a principal in Toronto, and he works now in Torah Masorah. So he gave the Chumash workshop. And this was his beginning, and it really resonated with me. I mean, you could see, because I remembered, and I don't remember a lot of things. I'm not always sure I even remember the things that happened yesterday. But it really, his anecdote really stuck with me. And he says like this. He says he's walking down the street, and he says it was fascinating how many people, after they said the Shalom Aleichem and caught up with him and wanted to know what he was doing with his life, and he told them, they looked at him and they said, "You're still in chinuch?" And he says, it was so interesting. Doctors walk down the street. Nobody looks at them and says, "You're still a doctor?" Dentists walk down the street. Nobody walks over to them and says, "You're still doing dentistry?" Bankers, etc. He says it's just so interesting that people in chinuch, many times that is the response, that's the reaction we get when people, that's sort of like a sentiment. I don't know if they're saying it like Nebuch. I'm not sure. But it's like a question. And it's sort of, I think it's important to hang around with people that are still in chinuch and are proud of it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be really super honest. It is a little bit vulnerable to know that whatever you're saying is all over the internet. But I'm going to say it anyway because we're sharing and we're officially being mechazek each other. So I hope that it will give someone chizuk. So as a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I actually had an inner conflict. Although I'll tell you the truth, I am the first person that's thrilled to still be in chinuch. And I have to admit that I really believe that I think the person I am today is really thanks and due to the many years that I spent as a teacher at Mechaneches and Beis Rivka High School. Just spending time with the co-teachers and the Mechaneches, many teachers who were actually my teachers when I were in high school. And I think it was a schus for me to become their colleagues. And I just learned so much from their dedication to Torah, to mitzvahs, to their haskashos to the Rebbe, their love for their students, and being surrounded in such an environment, really with such special people, I think consciously and subconsciously really impacts a person. And I really, really feel like I was there for so many years. And so many times I think back and I say, I really learned, I don't even know if I could even articulate, but I really feel in so many ways I really give credit that I worked for Mora Tachtel and Beis Rivka High School. I know we say that we learn so much from our students, but I think we really learn so much from who we work with. And it's not only on a spiritual, like esoteric type of level, even just pashut, friendly and good advice. It's funny, I remember, when I was teaching in Beis Rivka High School, that's when I was having my children, and I remember that after I had my babies, after I gave birth, and we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have WhatsApps and texts, so you didn't have to just send out one WhatsApp and everybody knows you had a baby. You had to actually make phone calls. And I remember, after going down my list of my sisters and my sisters-in-law from both sides of the family, the next people I called was Mora Nyman, Mora Zirkin, Mora Kotlarski. They were my family. And I'm not just saying it to sound like and mushy, but I really feel like it's just hard, now that I'm not there, and I think about it, I really feel like I owe it so much to them for being who I am today. Then, after being there for many, many years, I actually got an offer to be involved in the online school, and it was a very hard decision for me to make. Leaving Beis Rivka was not an easy decision. I spoke to a lot of people who, I respect what they have to tell me. And besides just knowing the brachas of working in Beis Rivka, I couldn't see myself leaving my family. The people I called after I gave birth. And with a lot of guidance and brachas and my own way of figuring out that that's maybe my next journey in my world of chinuch, in my life of chinuch, I actually accepted to leave Beis Rivka, and I became the principal of the online school. And I was there for, I believe, 9 years, and then circumstances happened that I actually left online school, and I went back into a brick-and-mortar classroom. Anyway, so it was at that point in my life that I started hearing those voices, like what Rabbi Klein said people tell you when they see you. And I started thinking to myself, really, Gitty, you're still in it? You're still doing chinuch? You're still standing in front of a classroom? You're still preparing lessons? You're still asking kids to be quiet? You're still trying to come up with a new creative way how to do what you're doing? And all those machshavas zaros were flooding my brain. And I'm going to be honest, I gave in a little bit to my machshavas. And I called somebody who was in the business world, a world that I don't know anything about. I know how to spend money. I'm not sure I know how to make money. And, I called him up. It was a relative, so I felt comfortable sharing. And, I said, just remember, this conversation's on the QT. I don't want to get out yet in Crown Heights, on Kingston Avenue. I don't want Mommy and Tati to know this yet. I don't know. I'm thinking, you know what? I've done my time. I've done my share. Let other people go into chinuch. I did my years. Now it's somebody else's time to get their feet wet and to get themselves into it. And so I asked him, I said, I think I have a lot of skills, nothing business, but I've worked with people. I'm an organized person, hard worker, get up early, don't cut corners, So he says to me, you know what's a good idea? Why don't you go take a course in QuickBooks? He says, because this everybody needs. So you'll be sort of almost indispensable to the workforce. So I went. I didn't tell a soul. I didn't tell anyone. I mean, my husband knew. But I'm saying I didn't tell anybody else. And I actually went to Manhattan. I looked up and I signed up. And I took a basic and then an advanced. And, I came home with my certificate, the 2 days, the basic and the advanced. And I started, reading the ads in the magazines. And I even told my brother, I just gave away who I spoke to, but I told one of my brothers, you know what? You have friends in the business world, so listen out, put in a plug if you hear that maybe they're looking for somebody, etc. And he was like, I'm going to be really honest with you. You're still teaching right now. Nobody's going to hire you now for next September, because I also at that point was going to do camp in Georgia, in Alpharetta, after my sister-in-law passed. That became my summer job. And I was like, okay, but just, keep my name there. Anyway, and again, this is all part of my inner conflict, but I did something about it. And then one day my husband says to me, my husband's my voice of reason because I sometimes get a little passionate and wild and do funny things that maybe later I would regret. And my husband says to me as follows. He says, Gitty, listen, you're not going to be happy. You're a people person. You have a passion. You put your heart into your students. You love teaching. He says, you're not going to be happy sitting behind a computer punching in numbers. And he said to me something then. He says, just think about why you became a teacher. That's what he said to me. So I had to rewind in my brain many, many years. Why did I become a teacher? And so I want to tell you that I think you should think about it every once in a while. Don't wait for crisis. Don't wait for when you're going to say, I've done my shir, let somebody else join the Chinuch force. I've given my years. I've had my Mesiras Nefesh. I was everyone's supper table. I was on their chopping block. I had to hide when I saw that mother, etc., etc., So I'm telling you, I'm asking you, every once in a while, think back as to why you went into teaching. It's important to keep on reminding yourself. And so, well, you all know what the end of the story is. I did not do anything with that QuickBooks. The Eibishter, has a plan. Hamechem etzadei gaver. And what? I have a lot of things I want to teach him before QuickBooks. Trust me. So I'm actually still in Chinuch, but I wear it with a pride and with a smile. And I don't think I'm going to leave it so fast. It was a stint. I went through it. So yes, for new teachers and teachers who've been doing this for a while, part of filling our bags is really keeping ourselves inspired to continue teaching. Last week when I was saying chitas, and I was just reading the psukim of all these glorious things that Hashem promises us if we keep Torah, and I'm thinking, teachers, mechaneches, we uphold the Torah. So what better, I don't have to stand here telling you all the wonderful things that's going to happen. And actually, I was even thinking how last week when I was doing chitas, and I was thinking, this week is Parshas Ekev, and I was thinking, I remember learning that in the Aseres HaDibros, there's actually Ekev amount of tevais. There's 172 words. And it brought me back, how your mind wanders, and I'm thinking before we accepted the Torah, way back in Parshas Yisro, and the Eibishter says, you're going to become a Mlechas Goyim, Koi Kadosh. And then the Eibishter says, Ki li kol haaretz. And I always loved that. And when I taught these parashiyos, I told my students, it's very easy to promise someone a lot of things when you don't have it. But Hashem is saying, hey, li kol haaretz. I have everything. So if I promise you something, I can give it to you. So, let's really know that when the Eibishter says all those wonderful things, he's not only talking about keeping Torah and mitzvahs, he's also talking about the people who make it their life shlichus, or their life mission, for the people who don't like to use the word shlichus. I heard in the crowd, there's a controversy about that, so I'll just stay safe and say it both ways. For those people who want to make it their life shlichus or their life mission, just realize the Eibishter Ki li kol haaretz, he has everything, he owns everything, and he's obviously going to give us everything that he promised us. Like I said, I love shopping. So I remember a while back I had seen an ad for a store in Cedarhurst that it was a fantastic chop to get you into the store. The ad said, fill your bag for $100. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, shopping, and what a bargain. You go into the store, and you can take anything you want, fill up your whole bag, and all you have to pay is $100. So obviously, you can't try on the clothing, and etc., so you are taking a gamble. But at the end of the day, it's only $100 in the big scheme of things. $100 could hardly buy you almost a dress today. So I was thinking to myself, wow, that must be exciting, suspenseful. to just stand online and know you have a couple of minutes to get into the store and fill your bags, etc. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not go to the sale, even though it was something I wanted to do. I just didn't make it there. But I was like picturing the scene, and I was thinking to myself, I think, number one, the first thing people are going to do is going to silence their phone, because their phone is a distraction. They're probably also not going to like talk to each other, because they're just going to be focusing on getting the best deal and getting the best bang for their buck. So I'm going to ask you to do the same thing tonight. I'm going to ask you, we're going to make believe we're standing on that line, and you're going to fill your bag. I need you to stay focused, and you don't even have to pay money. So don't use your phone. You don't have to talk to each other. And I'm sure there's going to be things that you're going to hear that maybe won't necessarily work for your school, your grade, your subject, etc. You might even put it away in the discard pile, but I think that's fine. You'll just share it with somebody else, with someone who it does apply and it does pertain to. And hopefully you'll come out with at least one or two thoughts that will inspire you and will change your mindset, and perhaps it will change the way you've dealt with something up until now, or, actually, 2 weeks ago, there was a seminar for principals, a 2-day seminar that Torah Masorah put out, and they also had it they live streamed it. I wasn't able to attend in person, so I logged in, and it was the coolest thing, because I got to see all the people who were in the audience, and I was upstate in Monticello. And so I actually saw some Lubavitchers, some of the people I know, and one of them is actually my classmate, and she's in the audience tonight. And I asked her, I texted her. I said to her, were you happy that you went? And she said as follows. I have a voice note, but I'm not playing it. I'll just repeat it. And she says like this. She says, just being in the same room with others doing the same as you, just that alone is a benefit. And then she says, you can always learn from everything you hear, which basically is the same idea tonight. I think that every teacher, every Mechaneches, every person who goes into teaching, I think has sort of like what you would call their Chinuch outlook, or to abbreviate that, their Chautlook. Their Chinuch outlook, their Chautlook. In other words, it's like something that you believe in, your mission statement. And I think everyone should just take a minute, and I'm going to give a suggestion out to Hannah Rose, that maybe next year's Kinus, it would be interesting to actually have everybody share what their Chinuch outlook is. What is their mission statement? What is the thing that drives you to keep yourself motivated and to keep yourself inspired, etc.? Now, I know when it comes to education, things go in fads and tides, in waves. There's always something new on the market. I actually learned recently that each new thing has a shelf life of 4 years, okay? So I think that we definitely have to be open-minded, to listen. We have to file away the things that we hear. But I think our gasoline, our mission statement, the thing that drives us, has to be a source from something that's everlasting, something that has a shelf life way longer than 4 years, and that is the Torah. Exactly. We have to realize Torah is our source. Istakel baraisu bara alma. Even for education, keneged arba'a banim dibra Torah. The Torah has everything. So again, this is not for tonight's session. Maybe it's something that Hannah would, the Menachem Foundation would do in the future. But if you could all take a minute and think about it. What nekuda, what inyan in Torah is your outlook, is your mission statement? Now, I would love to do this like Boggle, ask everyone to say what it is, and if you got something that somebody else had, you're going to have to scratch it off, and let's see who has the most creative things. Well, I'm not going to do that, but did everybody have a chance to think? Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to ask, does your thing that you're thinking of happen to be a pasuk that has, a pasuk from the Torah? Okay, great. Is it a pasuk perhaps from Chumash Shemais? Okay, phew. All right. So I'm going to openly admit that what we teach is what we own. Whoever took Mrs. Turin's workshop today, you know, she kept on pumping us. The girls have to own that. Your students have to own it. So you all know as teachers, what do we know best? What do we own? That which we taught. Right. So I'm going to actually admit, and I'm going to tell you that the pasuk, that's my gasoline, has always been since I taught it, and always is, and that's what I would like to share with you tonight, is a pasuk from one of the parshiyos that I taught years ago in high school. Now, I know there's this like fad where you're supposed to give people acronyms, you know, and then they're supposed to remember like this whole huge, deep thing based on the acronym. Well, being that we're all Mechaneches, I'm going to stretch your brains. I'm not giving you an acronym. I'm actually giving you an entire pasuk. The pasuk is only 5 words, okay? And we're going to repeat it throughout the talk. So hopefully by tonight you're going to know it. And the pasuk is as follows. Ve'ele hamishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. Great. So half of you already know the pasuk. Good. But don't tune out, okay? The other half who don't know it, for sure you should be listening. So now this is a very simple pasuk. It's a pasuk of 5 words. It's an instruction. Ve'ela hamishpatim, and these are the laws asher tasim lifneim that you shall place before them. Now, it's one of the psukim that I actually taught. I was a teacher in 10th grade Beis Rivka High School. My parashas were officially Yisrei and Mishpatim. There were years I did Bekiah Shmai Tzvei Rabbi Shalach, did Yisrei Mishpatim Be'in, then Truma Tetzava Bekias. There were some years that I did less, some years that I did more, but my real parshas that I taught, that I learned, that I own are Yisrei and Mishpatim and parts of Kisisa. And I have to tell you that from the day I taught this pasuk, now obviously the first year I taught it, I didn't really know the meaning as deep, but after teaching something 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, you know, you begin to have like a relationship with this pasuk. You begin to understand it and appreciate it in a different way. So this is my chinuch outlook, and this is what I'm going to ask you to put in your bag tonight. So ve'ela hamishpatim, ve'ela starts with a vav. The question that should be shooting out at everybody, right? Like what Mrs. Turin said, put that word up on the board. Ve'ela, what's our question? Exactly, why did we start with a vav? It's a new parsha, a new inyan. It should have just said eila hamishpatim. And the Vav is obviously the Vav HaChibur, and Rashi has the same question, lo and behold. And Rashi answers famous words, Maharishayim misinai, af elu misinai. Just like the things that we learned in Parshas Yisrael, the Aseres HaDibros were given on Har Sinai, af elu, so too these. What are these? These are the Mishpatim. They were also given on Sinai. Hashem oiz la'ama yitain. Hashem gave the Yidden Torah. Hashem yivarech es ama b'shalom. That's the Mishpatim. Okay? Instruction for teachers. Af elu misinai. Our mishpatim, our interpersonal relations, how we deal with people are from Sinai. They're from Hashem. Again, Eila HaMishpatim, teachers, we're always behaving. Actually, we're always being a mishpat, we're always being a shayfet, we're always being a dayan. She did learn well, she didn't learn well. She sat nicely, she didn't sit nicely. She did bring the right thing. What should I do with her? What should I do with her? It's her 3rd time being late, it's her 8th time being late. I did call her mother, I didn't call her mother, right? We have to remember both are from Sinai, both from Hashem. To keep the Torah alive, and I found this fascinating, and I want to again tell you, I did not learn all this the first year, okay? I'm bringing you a culmination of a lot of things I've learned over the years. To keep the Torah alive, fascinating. In Parshas Yisrael, on Har Sinai, when the Eibishter said the Aseres HaDibros, the first part of the Aseres HaDibros are Bein Adam Lamakayim, second half, Bein Adam Lachaveiroi. Parshas Mishpatim, the parsha that follows the Aseres HaDibros, the bang of the Eibishter coming down, Nigla Alehem, right? We saw the Kisei HaKavod. What does the next parsha start with? Bein Adam Lachaveiroi. Message for teachers. We want that our Torah should have a kiyum. We want it to be meaningful. We want it to be everlasting. Work on our Bein Adam Lachaveiroi. I mean, it's so interesting. If you look into Parshas Mishpatim, who does the Torah deal with? The Almana, the Yasim, the Ani, all the people that we have to have sensitivity to. And in our classroom also, we have the Yasim, the Yasaima. We have the Ani Bidas. We have these students sitting in our classrooms. And this is the Inyan that followed the Parsha of Matan Torah. We also have to remember that we don't spend our life betachtes hahar. That's the reality. I mean, maybe it would be nice to, but we don't. We live with each other in a real world. Well, we don't live in tents and in the field, but that's how they lived then. But we live in a world with people. We have to be able to bring the Sinai, the experience of Sinai, into the interpersonal relationships, into how we talk to our colleagues, into how we respect our administration, to how we talk to our students. Ma harishaynim mi Sinai af elu mi Sinai. Our students have to see in us that our teaching and our behaviors is one unit. They have to see how we talk to a colleague, to a co-teacher, even a co-teacher who might be giving a test and a test extended into your period and you're losing out. Yes, I know you have a very important lesson you want to teach. Ma harishaynim mi Sinai, af elu mi Sinai. We have to remember that all the midas, all the ways that we work, that we're supposed to work with people, applies to our students. It does not end when we become a teacher. Chana, are you going to be the one to tell me, like, when I put the button instead of the candy in my mouth? Yeah? Okay. I want to share a little anecdote, which I was debating if I should share this or not. When I'm not going to tell you which grade, I was caught wearing socks. And I remember socks. I had to go home and change. Okay, halavai, these were the chatam of our students today. But anyway, so, well, we're not supposed to talk like that. There are mishichai, so we have to change the way we talk about them. Anyway, so I remember it was a very humiliating and uncomfortable experience for me. I went home, changed, and did I cry? And I cried, and all I kept on telling my mother and father, Tzalai and Giyarin, were, really? The teacher cares so much about my tznius? What about the hamal ben penei chaverei, right? You know, I'm a person. I have feelings. I understand. I'm not saying I should have been wearing socks. But, you know, how come the teacher, didn't deal with it in a different way? Anyway, I guess I was very sensitive at a certain age of my life. Anyway, why am I sharing this story? Because a couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting with Rabbi Newman, our dean in Beis Rivka, and I'm not sure how this story came into the discussion, but I told him this story. Oh, maybe because we were talking about how to handle students and I told him this story. And I said, Rabbi Newman, I want you to know what happened a long time ago. I don't remember. I'm telling you honestly, I don't even think I remember Navi that I learned in elementary or high school. Sorry for my Navi teachers. I don't know if I remember every sikha, but this I remember. And he said to me, he says, Mrs. Rosenfeld, I said, I'm not happy that you went through it. He says, but maybe that's what cultivated your sensitivity. So now, when you're an admin or when you were a teacher, you sort of had a soft spot for it. I'm sure you can all remind yourselves of, experiences. I actually once did a very interesting, when I was working a couple of years ago, I was still in online school, and I was working in, Menachem Foundation had asked me to do the teacher induction program. That was, I think it lasted from Tanis to Bispurim, because then I fell and broke my foot and I was immobile. But anyway, so I had, one of the topics that I took was relationships, right? Student rapport. So I actually did a very interesting survey. I was the principal of the online school, and we had, it was a boys' school and a girls' school, so we had male and female teachers. And I sent out an email to my teachers saying that I'm preparing for this workshop that I want to give, and I want to take a survey. And this is the question I asked them. I said, can you please think about a teacher that you will always remember, or a teacher you will never forget. Don't tell me their name. But send me an email of why you'll never forget them or why will you always remember them. I actually have it on my computer, and I've showed it around to different people, and it was fascinating to me because I got answers from mature people, right? Females, males, some single, some married, etc. And it was just interesting to me. Nobody wrote, I'll never forget this teacher because, I don't know, she taught me, 36 sichos that year. They were all along the lines of, I felt valued in the class. The teacher treated us with respect, even when we did something wrong. And I have like a whole list of this. I mean, it was, I cut and paste, and it was fascinating to me. And these are adults, and they're now in Chinuch, Baruch Hashem, and I'm sure that their teaching is reflective of, hopefully, the things that they remember that they didn't like about the teachers and the things that they did like. So, ve'ela, ma harishayim misinai, af elu misinai. Ve'ela hamishpatim. Which things do we have to remember come from Sinai mishpatim? What type of mitzvahs are the mishpatim? The logical ones, the ones that are seichel, it makes sense in our seichel. And yet the Torah is telling us, why do we keep those mitzvahs, even the ones that logically make sense? Not because they logically make sense, because they are misinai, because that is what the Eibishter wants, because that is how the Eibishter deals with us, and that is how we should be dealing with other people. As a matter of fact, in that Rashi, at the end it says Lama Nismacha, which again is another reason why is it Ve'ela HaMishpatim following? And again, what's the answer? To teach us Shetasim Sanhedrin Eitzel, either HaMikdash or HaMizbeach. There's two different Ischais. Again, Shetasim Sanhedrin. Who are the Sanhedrin? The Sanhedrin are the Dayanim, the people who deal with judging. And their foundation has to be Tzedek V'Yesher. So where do we put them? We put them next to the Mikdash. Again, the message we're telling them is, when you're a dayan, and we already established the fact that teachers, we are dayanim, for better or for worse, we have to do it al kedushas ha-Torah, and what the Torah commands of us and wants of us, and not because our seichel tells us. Interesting that in Parshas Mishpatim, there's 53 mitzvahs, 53 in Hebrew, gan. Right? And we spoke about before, our students are our garden. Ve'ela hamishpatim. So if we want our chinuch to be long-lasting, if we want it to be a place where students are going to be proud to uphold Torah, to hear what we have to say, mishpatim, we have to remember how we treat our students. All right, so let's review the first two psukim, the first two words, ve'ela hamishpatim. All right. Asher Tasim, one of the most famous Rashis, right? And again, the word Tasim is an incorrect word. A word that you most probably would have expected to say in the pasuk would be something along the lines of Ve'ela hamishpatim asher. Guide, teach, exactly. What does the word Tasim mean? Place. Okay? And Rashi says, again, listen to this. And this Rashi, I'm going to be honest, the first year I taught it, I was so confused. These are the words of the Rashi. I brought a chumash, but I brought such a small chumash that I think I'm just going to have to read the ones I wrote over. Amar lai HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMoshe. Lai sala al datcha. Listen to the words that Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu who took us out of Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu who gave us the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu who ran after every sheep. Okay? Lai sala al datcha laimer eshna lahem aparek v'alacha bezo gimel pa'amim ad shetehei sidur b'fiyem k'mishnasa ve'eni matriach atzmi lavinam tameh hadavar pirushay lekach nemar asher tasim lefnehem ke'shulchan ha'aruch umuchan lecha lefnei ha'adam. I'm going to be honest, when I had to teach us the first few years, I didn't know how I was going to teach this to my students. Yes, I can translate the Rashi to my students. Hashem says to Moshe, you shouldn't even think, it shouldn't even enter your mind that I'm going to teach them 2 or 3 times until, it's so fluent by them that they could just like spit it back or repeat it back to me. Ve'eni matriach atzmi lahavinam tamei hadavar. And like thank you. This is what I used to tell my students. If this Rashi was written for me, I'd get it. I'd get it. Because, we're human. At a certain point, we say, okay, I tried my best. How much more do I have to do? Eini matriach atzmi. This is to Moshe Rabbeinu. I bechlal never understood it. So one time, and I was searching now where I read this. I could not find it. One time, I remember reading that it's there really for all the future teachers of the generation. That we should not say, what do you mean? I explained it twice. I explained it 3 times. They can repeat it back to me. Why do I have to bother? But what I found, and again, I'm telling you again, it's still a Rashi. I don't teach this parsha anymore, but when I say it in Chitas, it's just still something. I told you, this is my Chatluk. I go back to this pasuk lots and lots and lots of times. And I still grapple with it because I still can't understand. So I did find a very interesting answer now when I was preparing the last 3 weeks when I was preparing. And then they tell you to only talk for 35 minutes, but I spent 3 weeks preparing. But I'm going to listen to Chana because we're friends. I'm going to try to listen to Chana because we're friends. So I found a very interesting answer. And this a little bit I understood. That Moshe Rabbeinu, when he, when the Eibishter came and gave their Sefer Dibros, we all know that the Yidden couldn't handle after the first 2 Dibros, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu had to take over. So Moshe Rabbeinu figured if it was so humongous, it was something so like beyond the Yidden to handle that, he figured he doesn't have to maybe now get so nitpicky and like really like make sure they really understand it. Maybe it really is beyond them. And so that's where I actually saw an interesting answer, where the answer was, no, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're a leader. You're a teacher. You're there for the people. You have to do all that you can. Lahavinam tamei hadavar. And I think it's fascinating that the Rashi tells us how well should you explain it to them, that it should be like a set table. Now, we all know you're all hostesses. Some of you, I recognize, are shluchos. Your mothers are families, your hostesses. You know you can prepare a really fancy meal. If you're not going to put out the forks, the knives, the spoons, the plates, nobody can eat. And that's the word tasim. You should place it before them like a set table. So I think that the instruction that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu in the pasuk ve'ela mishpat masher tasim lifneim, even though interesting, the pasuk actually doesn't say who this is an instruction to. It doesn't say Hashem said to Moshe ve'ela mishpat masher tasim lifneim. It does not say Hashem said to Moshe to tell the dayanim ve'ela mishpat masher tasim lifneim. So because it's so vague, it's really talking to me and you also. So we as a teacher have to remember we have to set the table. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to have to go really quickly now. We have to set the table. We have to set it academically. We have to set it emotionally. What's the climate in the classroom? Is it conducive for the students to learn? Do the students feel secure? Do they feel safe? Do they feel loved? Is everything in place? Do you have a discipline system? Or are you going to do it by the whim, like not by, and then you teach your children, it's not what you do, it's who does it. Is there a structure? Are you fair? Is there clear communication? So that's the message of Asher Tasim. So our job is far from just simply transmitting the Torah. It's far beyond just repeating so that the students can repeat it verbatim. We are responsible to make Torah accessible for our students, the same way we set a table to make it appealing and easy to partake. I guess this is where, my challenge, I have to figure out what not to say or what to say, but if you don't know the story in the Talmud of Rapreda, right, where he taught his Talmud 400 times until he understood something. And then one time, as he was coming in to teach this specific student, somebody asked Rapreda to do something. And that day, he's teaching the Talmud, his student, and the student is not getting it. And he asked the student, what happened? This is after 400 times. And the student said, Rebbe, when I heard that somebody asked you to do something, to do a mitzvah, I figured at any minute you're going to stand up and do the mitzvah. So I wasn't able to concentrate. So Rapreda says, And he sat and he explained it to him another 400 times. And the end it says in the Talmud that a bas kol came out, and a bas kol said, for doing this, he wanted to either give Repredo an award to either have a long life, or him and the whole community should have Olam Haba. And he chose that him and his whole community should have Olam Haba. And the bas kol said, you're going to get both rewards. Now, on one hand, if we knew our reward was Olam Haba, maybe we would repeat things 800 times. But I'm sure repeating something 800 times is very, very tedious. Again, I would love to discuss this, and I think this is a worthwhile topic, but another thing that we learned from this Rashi is the need to explain the why. Many teachers think that it's okay not. It's wrong. This Rashi tells us, lehavinam tame hadavar. It is our obligation to make the students understand why. I actually saw something super interesting. We're in Sefer HaChinuch, and we know that Sefer HaChinuch was written for the youth. That was the author's intention, was that the youth should understand all the mitzvahs, should connect to Torah and have a love for Torah. And one of the things that Sefer HaChinuch does is he gives a reason for all the mitzvahs. And there's one mitzvah. The mitzvah, it's Kuf Yud Zayin. It's the mitzvah of you're not allowed to put yeast and honey on the mizbeach. And the Sefer HaChinuch does not, there is no reason why. And I hope it's okay if I just read to you. The Sefer HaChinuch says, the root of this mitzvah is exceedingly hidden, making it difficult to find even the slightest hint as to its reason. Nevertheless, because I've told you, the Sefer HaChinuch is speaking, the author of the Sefer HaChinuch, because I've told you that my intention with offering reasons is to make children accustomed so that when they first hear of mitzvah, they'll recognize that the Torah has reasons and advantages and will therefore accept them, becoming accustomed to following them with their weak mind. And that mitzvahs, when they're first exposed to them, it shouldn't be seen as a sealed book, lest they rebel when they're young, leave the Torah forever, and follow a wasted life. Therefore, I'll write whatever comes to mind. And Sefer HaChinuch says, don't be critical of my explanation since you know my intention. So again, a lot of these points we really should be talking a little bit longer, but time always seems to be working against us. So I think we just have to realize it's our obligation to set the table for the students. It's our obligation to matriach atzmi, bother ourselves, lahavinam tameh hadavar. We have to, give them the whys, make them understand it, respect the minds of our students. Now, to what degree should we be doing this? So the last word in this pasuk, so ve'ela mishpatim, maha rishayim misina af elu misinai, mishpatim, even the seichel dika mitzvahs, asher tasim, we have to place it like a set table, ulahavinam tam hadavar, we have to respect their minds, make sure they understand it. To what extent should we be doing this? The final word in the pasuk, lifneihem. So lifneihem, I'm actually for this word, I'm not going to do Rashi. So interesting, the Eruvin says that lifneihem, this is the proof where you're supposed to, when you teach students, laharais laipanim, you're supposed to give them a reason. And in the Gemara Eruvin, it says, we learn it from this pasuk, from the word lifneihem. I'm going to give you the Alter Rebbe's taich on the word. And the Alter Rebbe says as follows. Lifneihem teaches us lipni miyusam. Ezol nimshach verin bechinas hadas von Eloikos in pnimius von Yidin. The pnimius of Torah has to awaken the pnimius of the neshama. So I took one pasuk. That's my gasoline. I've been working on this pasuk for many, many, many years. Ve'ela, maharishayim misinai af elu misinai. Mishpatim, even the things that my own seichel will dictate, I'm going to do it misinai, the way Hashem expects us to do it. Tasim, I'm going to work at making my classroom a shulchan aruch, a place where it's accessible, where Torah is, where it's comfortable to learn. And I'm going to do it lipni miyusam. Now, to explain that, I'd like to reference a well-known story, a story where the Frierdiker Rebbe told us about the story about his father, the Rebbe Rashab, when he was 4 or 5 years old, and you all know the story. He came to his grandfather, the Tzemach Tzedek. It was Shabbos Parshas Vayera, and he had a question. What was the question that he asked? Why did the Eibishter show to Avram Avinu? And he was crying when he asked this question. Rabbi Taub earlier told us that the story of a Nasi is a Hayra'ah, okay? So we know that this is a Sipur that the Frierdiker Rebbe was mefarsem. It was a story that happened with the Rebbe, and it is miduyak. It is exact. So the fact that the Frierdiker Rebbe repeated to us that the Rebbe Rashab went into his Zayda when he was 4 or 5 years old, that 4 or 5 years old is an important detail. And as we heard earlier, it's a hira'ah for us. And the Rebbe has 2 sichos where he discusses this story. And the Rebbe points out and says that a story that happened with one of our Nesiim in their youth has a teichen miyuchad. And I hope you're going to be all okay that I'm going to read you some lines of the Sikha because I definitely cannot do it as well as that. Men darf, this is the Rebbe's words, men darf lernen und verstehen. We have to learn the stories and understand the lessons. And one of the lessons that we can learn from this story, knowing that the Rebbe was only 4 or 5 years old, afilu a kind, can men by ihm a reisrufen durch a chinuch kidebai, a tshuka zuruchnius un eloikos. The Rebbe says that even a child, we can accomplish, that we can bring out with him through a proper chinuch. A tshuka, a desire zuruchnius un eloikos. And listen to the next few words. Meiridik. Biz zu a tshuka nifla'a vasruft arais bechia. These are the Rebbe's words in the Sikha. The Rebbe says that through a proper chinuch, with everything that we've discussed before, the children have it in them. And we can make that their desire, they have the desire. We could just awaken it and bring it out to such a strong desire that they'll even cry about their connection to the Eibishter. And interesting, in the Sikha, the Rebbe says that the Rambam teaches us that when you, the Rambam, was that my thing that I went over time? That's like the people who close the lights on you. Well, this is really the end, but it's the crux. Okay. She's still going to be my friend, I hope. So the Rambam tells us that when we work with children and we want to teach children, there's a halacha that you have to entice children bidvarim shehem ahuvim etzlai. And I'm purposely choosing these words, okay? With things that are beloved by a child. Interesting, the Rambam, I think, says nuts. I guess at once upon a time. I mean, I'm excited with nuts. Nuts is my protein. But I can't imagine we could excite kids today with nuts. But all right. Anyway, and the Rebbe in this Sikha says that it's nish kein stira. It's not a stira to what the Rambam says that we have to entice them. In other words, the fact that they have it in them. They don't need enticing. They need a proper chinuch. They need mechaneches who come in and love them and view them and see them for who they are. It could bring about that this becomes the devarim ahuvim etzlai. This connection, these are the words of the Rebbe, and I will repeat. The Rebbe says that this story, because the Frierdiker Rebbe was mefarsem it, hat megale gewen dem derech bechinuch, it revealed this new path in chinuch. V'yesh shleimer nachmer mechadesh gewen dem derech bechinuch. The Rebbe says this story opened up a new chinuch technique, a new chinuch method, a naye tzinor. As men soll kennen mechanech sein a kind. This is the words of the Sicha. Biz getlichkeit, I'm skipping around, becomes devarim shehem ahuvim etzlai. We don't need the nuts and the prizes. Al derech vi men gefind b'nagea lekame inyanim as nishtanu hativim. These are the words of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe goes on to say, you know, it's incredible because as you get older and smarter, I know I'm getting older, I hope I'm also getting smarter. You realize how all the questions that we have and the skepticism, it's there. The Rebbe put them in there. It's our job to find it and learn it. And the Rebbe said there, you might be wondering, why dafke b'dairis achronim, right? Why dafke now? And the Rebbe says just the same like Chassidus. Why did Chassidus have to be revealed when it was revealed? And we all know the answer, and that's what the Rebbe says over here. Because is there chayshech greser? We talk about our challenges. It's in our booklet over there. The Rebbe told us what our challenge is. The chayshech is greser. So what's the answer? So there has to be a haisafa in our hakdaisha. Because of the darkness of Galus, we now have the kayach to be mechanech, that our children, that ruchnius and elikus can become a part of a student's life as young as 4 and 5 years old. And the end of that sicha, the Rebbe says, Hanhaga ha'amura, all this behavior that we're talking about, this potential that we're talking about, is by divelechem miruft mishichai, is by those children who we call mishichai, verti hachana kraiva tzubias vegiloi hamashiach. So it's our children. And who's supposed to do the job? So the answer is in that same sicha. The Rebbe says, Viful is der chayv al kol echad ve'achas mi Yisrael zu mishtadel sein sich in inyan hachinuch. It's the responsibility of each one of us to put in our efforts in for this chinuch. Sei b'nageya eigene kinder, and I'm skipping around. Sei b'nageya andere Yiddische kinder. Was das liegt. I'd like you to hear the words of the Rebbe. I'm really almost finished. Was dann liegt der chayv al kol chacham ve'chacham Yisrael zu versorgen, as der Kind soll bekommen a chinuch kedebai. So we have to have a paradigm shift. We have to believe in our students. We hear from the words of the Rebbe their true potential. So after hearing this, I think we have to realize how lucky we are to be able to work with students of such caliber. We have Pasha gems in our classroom. What bigger chizuk can there be than knowing this about our students? We are teaching the children who will bring and greet Mashiach. A school teacher once came to the Rebbe and he told the Rebbe, he was fed up with teaching, he was looking for a new career, it was not me. And he said as follows, there's just not enough appreciation given to the teachers. That was his complaint. So the Rebbe responded, and the Rebbe said, there are those that feel that teaching little children is an undignified position. Well, apparently they didn't learn the Sikha. I, on the other hand, consider teacher to be the highest title of honor. You know, the Rebbe continues, the Rambam writes that in the Beis HaMikdash, only the greatest of Bnei Yisrael, the Rosh Yeshivas, the members of the Beis Din, and the Zekanim are going to dance and rejoice in the Beis HaMikdash during Sukkot. Everybody else, both men and women, are just going to have to be the ones watching the celebration. And this is how the Rebbe answers this person. As a teacher, I wish I read the story before I went to QuickBooks. As a teacher, you are the modern day Rosh Yeshiva that the Rambam is referring to. Upon hearing the Rebbe express the deep esteem he had for teachers, the man decided to continue teaching. Let us all take this message to heart, Continue teaching and wear it with pride.